Well, hello everybody, and welcome to Metaworld News for the week ending 23rd of July 2017. I'm Mal Bones. You can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/malbones, MALBURNS, all one word. And our news on this program is largely concerned with any particular VR innovation, but mostly news from social virtual worlds. Regular viewers may see a slight difference in our setup here today. Our main studios are based at the Great Canadian Grid, which with 5 minutes notice announced it was going down for 4 hours for a complete grid reboot. So we're actually coming from Metaworld's offline local sim today. And we weren't quite prepared for it, but we've done our best. So, straight to the news, which comes from that Twitter stream I mentioned for the first part at least. And, yep, 8 days ago, we don't need that. So, right, most of the news this week actually that I've highlighted actually begins about the middle of the week, so go figure. A post from vrscout.com, that's vrscout, all one word.com. This $99 AR headset is a game changer. Well, $99 it probably should be. Fresh out of stealth mode, this headset is called Mira. And it's looking to bring augmented reality to the masses, and the name it's been dubbed with is Prism. I find it particularly interesting one because it's an untethered headset, but it is powered by your iPad or your iPhone. So basically, I think you just plug it in to the socket on your phone or iPad, and it takes over from there, rather than having any kind of engine or whatever in the thing itself, or needing it, or well, actually, you have to read the article. We don't have time to go into it all here. When it says it's untethered, it may actually be completely wireless. So, but at $99, that is something of an innovation. Incidentally, of course, Oculus Rift have been bringing their prices down and down and down at the moment. Although they say they will go up again, but they're going to be launching something like a $2 headset themselves. Obviously, going to, maybe lesser enabled headsets for various other cheaper markets, so to speak. But really, of course, they are facing heavy competition these days, from HTC Vive at the top end to HoloLens and things further down. Anyway, that's from vrscout.com. The same site, of course, has its weekly Week in VR review post. This is actually a podcast you can get elsewhere by Malia Probst. And she's talking about live streaming your cartoon avatar on Facebook and all sorts of other stuff. The advantage to going to vrscout.com is that the webpage gives you some highlights and details from the podcast itself rather than just the audio. Talking of audio, voicesofvr.com. Number 557, which was about 3 days ago, using experiential design to expand VR presence theory. Always a good podcast, that. I don't post them all. There's often one or two a day, I think, and some of them are really going into very specialist areas now. But that's about experiential design, so a good listen. Now, Christopher Colosi, who's been on some of our shows before, he's a former Linden Labs, Linden Labs veteran is probably the word, but he is the person behind a new currency system for virtual reality called Globits. We have interviewed him in the past and stuff, but he's actually written a piece himself this week over at medium.com. That's medium.com. And the title of the piece is Globit Provides Virtual Reality Commerce, and obviously his name is Christopher Colosi, so if you get to Medium you should be able to find it from there. Or of course if you click on the link on my feed you'll get straight to the relevant page. Right, IDROP idropnews.com. That's IDROPNEWS. All one word, whatever it means. Idrop. I think I figured it. It's idropnews.com. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
that's good.
Right. No, I'm actually getting the phonetics on that one. Right. The headline: Apple support staff have, by accidental design, actually confirmed an up-and-coming AR/VR headset. It is on its way from Apple, apparently, and the post contains some specs, which I think is based on one of their patent applications, and it's there too. We're looking at the sketches, and I'm probably completely wrong on this, but looking at the sketches, the innards seem to be a bit lopsided. One of the things I never really liked aesthetically about Google Glass was the fact they looked like a pair of ordinary glasses, which was fine. But instead of having the weighty bits on top of the nose or equally distributed at both sides, it had it all at the I think it was the right hand side. And if anybody who wears glasses will know that if they're weighted anywhere other than the center, they tend to go lopsided when bouncing on your nose. I've never actually seen that in a photograph. I guess all the Google Glass photographs were carefully posed, but anyway, I may be seeing that wrong because it's just sketches they got there, and it makes it look like there's more mechanics on the inner right than there are on the inner left. But anyway, interesting because there's been a lot of talk for a long while about when are Apple going to do this stuff, etc., etc. Well, their support staff seems to have confirmed it. Whether they're being naughty or not, I don't know, but that's no matter. Right, over $2.1 million have been raised for a new virtual reality and esports cryptocurrency. Yes, we're not now Globits, but Bitcoin and Ethereum are becoming commonly used words as initial coin offerings are spouting up, and cryptocurrencies are becoming all the rage. That said, of course, Ethereum, I think, got themselves in a bit of a pickle in the week, although it's not to do with this news item. And Bitcoin falling in price, blah, blah, blah. Right. Oh, dear. Sorry, I'm scrolling down this to... Never die. That sounds... I can't believe they're calling a currency Never Die. Yeah, okay. They've launched something called Never Die coins, and it's actually on the Ethereum blockchain. So go figure. Anyway, they've raised a lot of money. I often read posts about these companies that seem to raise a lot of money, but don't really tell you much about what they're doing. More for the investors, I guess. Okay, Leap Motion has raised also a lot of money, $50 million for key component in VR's growth. Basically, it's all extra development for their hand tracking technology, which I've always rather liked. It's not very conducive to resting your arm. You have to be sort of flapping your arms in midair, which many of us don't do much of the time. But it's good for flipping pages and doing that sort of thing rather than for maneuvering in VR on the screen. But there are actually several headsets on the market that other branded headsets that actually include versions with the Leap Motion technology sort of on the forehead of the headset. And I know in high fidelity, for example, that is configured. The drivers for Leap Motion are configured backwards. So when I try and put my arm out to shake somebody's hand, my arm actually goes over my shoulder and tries to shake them backwards. Very unfortunate feeling. But of course, my leap motion is looking at me from where the screen is, whereas on a headset, it's looking out from the headset and sensing the movements that way. So a lot to do is to do with where the actual leap motion is positioned. Anyway, that report comes from VentureBeat. And money for them. Could virtual reality become integrated into people's lives? Well, one would hope so, although, of course, whether the degree of virtual reality is, I think, more the issue. Anyway, this is an article at informationage.com. This is a good old dead tree publication that I used to get all the while coming to me. Not these days. Information Age, basically. So it's information-age.com. And looking at how likely it is that virtual reality to become integrated into people's lives. I think we will start seeing it everywhere, and that will include the headset things, especially out of the home, so to speak. But I think it will impact everything else on the consumer level too. It's just the different ways in which it may. But that's an interesting post from them there. Right, Google's Expeditions educational VR platform is now available to all. This is posted at uploadvr.com, or one word. Google's work in VR has been consumer facing, but one of the first initiatives, Expedition, was entirely education focused, and basically there's no new platform or anything, but there's now a freely usable public version of Expeditions. You don't have to be an educator to get your hands on it and go into it and play to your heart's content, exploring Expeditions, as you might suspect. And believe it or not, oh no, there is one final one up here. There's a site called Alternet.org. That's ALTERNET.org. I actually get their newsletters a few times a day, I think. I tend to think of them as like a progressive politics magazine of sorts, but they did actually have an article here called "The Therapeutic Value of Virtual Reality," which was posted on July 21st. So quite interesting. The subtitle is "Move Over Psychedelics. VR is coming to a clinic near you." Well, there you go. Right. So that's it, believe it or not, for my sort of mainstream headlines, so to speak. I do have two additional Twitter feeds which may interest you. One is, well, actually three. You can twitter.com/hypergridbusiness, or one word, is our former colleague Maria's site, which has some interesting posts now and again. Also, twitter.com/Malburns_writer, which is the name of my old Second Life avatar, and I still use that branding, so to speak, to post machinima and occasional destinations and arts in Second Life and similar. Which, if you're interested in, you can go there. And finally, we do have another stream nowadays at Twitter, twitter.com/Metaworld News, or one word, the title of this program, of course. Most of what goes there is, specific things from virtual worlds. Looking at what there's been here. Intro extended. Oh yes, this is a video introducing people to OpenSim. I forget whose post that was, but it's an embed code on ours. Third Life. This is not to be confused with Third Rock. The Third Life Grid is celebrating its first birthday, or has done by now. And oh, nice. Okay, we're way back to High Fidelity's Jim Jam show and stuff like that. So not much on that feed this week, and just checking on the Google Plus posts, and which are largely a duplicate. The only thing that is worth probably mentioning is It was on last week's news. The Hypergrid Chamber of Commerce has held its first meeting. Well, that was actually held on Friday. It was held shortly after, same evening as the IMA general meeting. And basically, Mike Laurie has been on our show here recently, a few weeks ago, along with Globits, Podex, Dan Kitely, and other commerce financial providers really at this stage had their own little meeting, and we've yet to hear any news coming out of it, but there was generally it seems to be running hand in hand with the commerce working group at the IMA. Immeasurable Metaverse Alliance. I can Infinite Metaverse Alliance. Yeah, I do that. I'm coming up. Well, the high aspirations and all that. Immeasurable intent.
Right.
Cough, cough, cough. Sorry about that, folks.
That's fun.
Just doing my thing. Let me do a quick look in who I'm following here. These are things I haven't posted yet, but yeah, I don't think so. Plenty of teaser vids for Linden Labs' new Sansar platform popping up here and there and everywhere, by the way, on YouTube. I think 2 out of 3 of them are unauthorized posts by people who are actually breaking the NDA, non-disclosure agreement they actually had with the lab for being in there in the first place. But go figure. I think the platform is fairly imminent now, and if they're going to, the people they're inviting in now probably don't even know what an NDA is, let alone read it and signed it. So there we go. Now I've got James Outloud with me, running our cameras as ever, but I believe you might have a little bit of news from the devs, James.
Just a quick overview of the last Tuesday, the office hours meeting. They really the discussion was around mesh and how mesh has been implemented in the viewers, and really I think the core of the discussion came to again talking about the proper ways to create mesh. The proper way to make sure that it works on different physics systems and things like that, and it's interesting that continues to be an issue because there's actually fairly decent documentation on the Open Simulator website about there are some things that do need to be updated, and there was the usual plea for if there's anyone that can help contribute to the wiki and the documentation for Open Simulator, that's a ongoing need that would really be helpful. But there actually is a fair amount of information about how to create meshes that will work well with Open Simulator and the viewers. So that was pretty much the discussion. Not quite as big a group as the past 2 weeks, so maybe an effective summertime.
I actually read the transcript myself because somebody insisted I did.
Yep.
Interesting to see some familiar names there. But yeah, exactly. They were it was about 2 hours long. But I look at text transcripts and think, well, that's a 10-minute conversation in voice.
Right. It goes slow in text.
Yeah. Yes, I know. But I guess some people, that's still the old-fashioned way of doing it.
Yeah, and I know that I'm multitasking while I'm having a text conversation. I'm sure everybody else is. There can be there can be 4 minutes, 5 minutes of no texting. And,
yes, I have found that, especially if it's mixed text and voice, it will be in voice for a while, then it will go silent and everybody's texting like mad, then the text will go silent and somebody will speak, and yeah, it's a bit anarchic, and text really no good. I can't type fast enough. It's not that I can't type, I just make, in my attempt to catch up with text, I end up being a typo king rather than a typist,
sure. Right.
But yes, on similar points, there was an Infinite Metaverse Alliance meeting earlier in the week. A lot of talk about the web worlds, both Cyber Lounge and a couple of other ones. There are 3 different people in the working group there working on separate, literally, web worlds. Different ways of bringing worlds onto the web. As far as I know, they are all at the point where they Cyber Lounge, for example, or non-profit worlds, web worlds, as one part of it is called by I think of Melville. Uh, it's standalone, but I think people are actually working on ones that could possibly connect with the hypergrid as we know it. So, different voices and different projects in there sort of have been meeting together, which is always a good sign. Now, interestingly, if you're watching this live, we will be back on the hour with this week's edition of Inworld Review. At least we hope we will. We've had to make a temporary studio for that here too. And I've now got to get hold of what at the moment is our only guest to get her to come here instead of going to our normal studios. But hopefully all will go according to plan. And that guest is actually Melanie Milland, who is best known probably for the Avanation grid, but of course she donated all the code to the OpenSim Vanilla Core people. And I'll be asking a general chat about how close we are to a stable release of number 9 that people can work with, and how the code integration is going, and anything else we can think of to hit her with, as it were. So do stay tuned, and we will be back on the hour with that. But for now, have a good week, and we'll be back here with all next week's news at the same time as, well, probably not the same place, actually. We're not quite prepared for it. But
who knows?
But,
maybe.
Who knows? Who knows? I'll have to fix this up so all else fails.
You know, the frame rate here is just fantastic. So, you know, it's very nice that way.
Yes, and considering how many prims and meshes I've dumped here in the last couple of weeks, I'm astonished how well it's performing. I don't know, good bandwidth, good computer, I don't know, but it's actually running on. It's not a dedicated server. It's running on my desktop, which I use for other virtual worlds and other things. So, yep. We get a good frame rate. Maybe we should just do it here every week, especially if the Canada grid is going to turn into a yo-yo number 2. But well, no, essential work is being done.
Maintenance, yeah.
Yeah, but you know, it's like the summertime. The moment you go out your door and the weather's good, suddenly every contractor is putting up scaffolding and making a hell of a racket, and you can't get down the road for blockages. And it's called essential maintenance, but it only happens at the times of year when you don't want it to. Right, fair enough. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody, and bye from me and bye from James.
Yeah.